There is one thing that most viewers are unaware of. There are a lot of quiet moments on set behind the loud laughter and the slogan, "Dynamite." All the assistance possible. Television. This is Florida Evans, the star of Ghetto Stage Screen. Although Jimmie Walker rose to prominence during the good times, that same spotlight exposed irreversible flaws. His co-workers who assisted him in projecting the ideal family image on screen remained distant in real life. The statement that made Walker famous was originally despised even by Norman Lear, the show's creator. Has no door. The audience has never heard the truth about what actually transpired until Walker now whispers it to them. Are their giggles the result of friendship? Is it just division, or what? Watch this space to learn all these secrets. Walker saw the script wasn't producing the appropriate cadence of laughs from the first few days of production. He decided to make an impression by injecting a number of his own parts. Walker was asked to repeat Dynamite by filmmaker John Rich. Norman Lear was adamantly against it, though, because he thought it distracted from the main plot. Later, Walker acknowledged that Norman Lear detested it and described it as the most ridiculous thing he had ever seen. But I had to do it because it was a means for the audience to remember me. The confrontation with John Amos and Esther Rolle was far more important than the one with Lear, which was only about creativity. Jaya was written as an 18-year-old who does nothing, learns nothing, and thinks nothing, Rolle once said. This directly attacked Walker's explosive performance rather than merely criticizing a character on paper. That picture, in Rolle's opinion, jeopardized the endeavor to create a television model black family. Amos also didn't think twice about saying that JJ's chicken hat and the repeated statement "Dynamite" was receiving too much attention. Walker opted to say nothing during the entire filming session. He later acknowledged that this distance had become a commonplace aspect of his daily routine. He didn't get to know Raleigh and Amos personally, instead, he spoke with them about work only when it was required. Both of them insisted on concentrating on the family tale, but Walker stuck to the audience's expected laughs. As the program's second season began, the distance grew wider as the character JJ virtually controlled each occurrence. When Amos quit the cast during the third season, the situation reached a breaking point. Although disagreements with the authors were cited as the reason for his resignation, everything collapsed as a result of becoming the center of attention. Walker openly admitted in one occasion that, although his statements may come off as remorse, they also show that he is aware that the attention is now all on him. Esther Rolle then made the decision to depart, only to come back when the script contained a new clause. Walker was the only person responsible for maintaining the weekly audience's interest throughout that time. His co-workers, however, did not support that obligation. He frequently found himself alone on set. The cast as a whole wanted to keep the tone somber, while Walker was on one side with his humorous lines. There is a peculiar contradiction that Walker's admirers frequently notice. He was the one who contributed the most treasured memories of enjoyable times, and he was rarely regarded as a member of an intimate performing family. He describes his loneliness in his memoir in a straightforward, unadorned manner. He came to terms with the fact that success comes at the expense of loneliness. For Walker, keeping up the persona, JJJ, is more than just a part, it's a means of preventing his career from ending. He is aware that he could be eliminated from the entertainment business in a matter of months if he doesn't make people laugh in such a tough setting. This decision has permanently changed him by putting him in a tornado of confrontation with other people. In numerous subsequent interviews, Walker referred to that time as the bad times. Despite becoming a cultural turning point for him, Good Times also demonstrated the loneliness that accompanies celebrity. Walker came onto the stage to film and said, "Dynamite," despite knowing that he would instantly receive icy looks in return when Amos and Rolle insisted on altering the script. Good Times was a terrible recollection as well as a pivotal moment for Walker. More tension was created on set with each audience chuckle. Rolle and Amos's statements from that era still have resonance, demonstrating that the reality behind the scenes was always more dramatic than any program that was shown. On the set, lines were drawn. According to Jimmie Walker, he had a single objective when he joined Good Times: to amuse the crowd. Regardless of whether the plot was sufficiently complex or not, he described himself as a fish out of water. An unseen barrier between Walker and his co-stars was swiftly established by this strategy. Even though Walker was eager to include more humorous elements, the only people who continued to be close to him were Ralph Carter and Bernadette Stannis. When necessary, they provided assistance, and they welcomed that tremendous energy. On the other hand, John Amos and Esther Roll maintained a considerable gap. They planned to present the Evans family in a serious light, but Walker pushed JJ's character in the direction of too much humor. Slowly, that space became an impassable wall. This discrepancy frequently makes filming days on set stressful. Walker frequently inserts lines that aren't in the script, but the other actors follow the phrases exactly. This makes finding common ground difficult for both parties. The only approval Walker looks for is the live laughter of the studio audience. The real worth, in Roll and Amos' opinion, is in depicting a black family in a dignified and accountable manner. Both sides are unwilling to compromise, and these two viewpoints fight on a daily basis. The disparity became even more apparent during those script talks. Walker usually said nothing. A discussion of the material between the actors and the screenwriters. Once on the set, he would do things his own way. He separated himself from the process, seeing himself as a solitary artist in a group production. This irritated Roll and Amos more and more since they thought he was undermining their group's efforts. However, despite the tremendous disagreement, Walker never expressed regret at that time. He thought the biggest reward was knowing that every sentence JJ said might make the audience laugh out loud. Because of this mentality, the filming became a demonstration of how one side concentrated on developing the plot while the others tried to produce humorous highlights. As the distance increased, the atmosphere of the group almost disappeared. The circumstances transcend the content of the characters. Additionally, Walker doesn't look for connection in real life. Following filming, he avoids group activities and avoids talking much with people outside of work. His sense of alienation from the group is further enhanced by this. Walker chose the route of isolation, but the others are close. Walker's decision alone makes him a special case. He makes a statement on screen and disappears into his co-workers' private recollections. He is frequently brought up in interviews by Raleigh and Amos, but usually in a rebuttal manner. Walker acknowledges this fact as, in his opinion, being mentioned still denotes influence, whether in a good or bad way. Walker's strategy for setting professional limits is obviously long-term. He makes no effort to influence his co-workers or alter their opinions. He just concentrates on humor to keep his job. Thus, even in situations where the entire film team is split, JJ becomes a symbol. However, in the middle of the spotlight, he also suffers the price of loneliness and isolation. Additionally, this explains why Walker has consistently been direct in his subsequent conversations. He makes it clear that he views Roll and Amos as co-workers only and has never thought of them as pals. While many find this statement shocking, Walker sees it as the reality. He makes the distinction between business and personal life very evident, and it has held true for many years. Although he is successful in keeping his distinct approach, he finds it difficult to fit in with the team. In addition to adding dramatic moments to the show, his performances exacerbate the divisions among the cast. Many years later, those limits were still discussed. Walker didn't try to minimize or disguise the distance when he described his experiences. He came to terms with the fact that it was in his nature to follow the course he did in order to live in the hostile world of television. And that decision alone influenced how the public viewed him. On the set, there are distinct lines depicting a man standing by himself amid laughs. Effects outside of the stage. There was a huge void left when John Amos left the cast. Jimmie Walker acknowledged that following his departure, the show will never be the same. This transformation also catapulted him into the public glare, drawing more attention to JJA than ever before. A paradox was therefore produced. Walker didn't win. His assistants turned into a priceless image. Esther Roll had to assume additional duties in order to preserve the Evans family's trustworthy reputation while Amos was away. Conversely, Walker persisted in refining his distinctive humorous elements. On set, the tension increased since these two pathways hardly ever crossed. The distance between her and Walker was never healed, even though Roll returned once a new agreement was reached after leaving during the following phase. Walker was open about the difficulties and opportunities that came with his character JJ's stardom. Dynamite is the slogan. Appeared on t-shirts, in the media, and became a catchphrase for a whole generation. However, it also became a binding restraint for him. Walker discovered that every other endeavor was compared to JJ once Good Times concluded. And the public found it difficult to accept him in various parts. He once acknowledged that, regardless of his performance, the audience was always eager to hear that well-known line whenever he took the stage. Walker encountered many obstacles as a result of this close bond. The New Odd Couple, a sitcom, was only around for a season. Additionally, several movie roles didn't make an impression. This fact serves as a reminder of the negative effects of becoming an icon too soon. Although Walker became well-known across the country, his career never again achieved such heights. On his stand-up tours, Walker frequently confronts his own legacy. The majority of the crowd just anticipates the parts that remind them of JJ, even when he does a lot of new routines. This not only keeps his fan base devoted, but it also makes him feel stuck. Because of this, Walker calls the period following the good times the bad times, when the splendor of the past turns into a shadow from which he is unable to rise. Walker's career had its ups and downs, but he never gave up. He kept his reputation alive by playing at tiny comedy clubs, appearing as a guest on TV shows, and keeping a hectic schedule. These actions demonstrated that, although not being in the limelight as much as he formerly was, he was strong enough to live with Jay Woyan's shadow. The sense of isolation was the most significant effect of that time. Walker acknowledged that he didn't talk to his former co-stars very much. In addition, he was single, never married, and worked most of the time. He may have become a famous thanks to this reality, but the cost he paid was the loss of his personal relationships. Not only does that demonstrate the role's potency, but it also shows the long-term effects on the creator's career. Offstage events transformed Walker into a bright icon with numerous wounds that are impossible to repair. Challenges and failures. Although Jimmie Walker's television profession has garnered the most attention, he has faced many difficulties in his personal life. One of the most significant problems he encountered was his close association with the character JJ. Because of this relationship, many producers were reluctant to offer him further parts. New sitcoms or movie auditions frequently ended with disappointment. Because there was only one character that both viewers and filmmakers could perceive. "I missed a lot of possibilities because they only considered JJ," Walker once said bluntly. The New Odd Couple, an early 1980s effort, was the most prominent failure following Good Times. Despite high hopes, the show was abruptly cancelled, adding yet another depressing stain to Walker's reputation. Though he didn't make a breakthrough, he kept appearing in movies. As his career deteriorated further, he was compelled to make a comeback to stand-up comedy, where crowds were still excited to hear No Might. Walker has a dreary personal life. He has never been married or had children of his own. In numerous discussions, Walker emphasizes that he has never met the proper person and refuses to get married only to comply with social expectations. His choice to be unmarried has made him the subject of rumors, particularly since his co-workers from the same time period have all begun families. Walker views this decision as both a liberation and a protracted sense of isolation. Walker has been criticized for his political beliefs in addition to his professional and personal setbacks. He has publicly supported problematic leaders and frequently spoken conservative views. There have been conflicting responses to this proclamation in the entertainment sector, where the majority of musicians have divergent opinions. He admits that many doors have closed in his face as a result of him speaking his mind. The contemporary Hollywood landscape has presented Walker with more challenges in recent years. He frequently attacks what is referred to be political correctness, claiming that the entertainment business has lost its innate independence due to the stringent language regulations. Although he hasn't been able to retrieve many important possibilities because of this honest perspective, it amply illustrates his unwavering character, which always remains true to himself through the repercussions. These elements collectively suggest that Walker encounters a number of personal difficulties in addition to the legacy of JSJ. He has a challenging existence with numerous turns, from a career full of disappointments to a solitary personal life and divisive political opinions. Every decision has an impact, and it is this string of errors that has molded Walker into the man he is today. Final thoughts and legacy. Long after the good times ended, Jimmie Walker left behind a legacy that is both brilliant and contentious. As he entered his older years, the behind-the-scenes tales from that era are still often remembered. According to Walker, his success has two sides. It left him with painful memories of internal conflict, but it also helped him become a cultural hero. The animated Good Times remake will be available on Netflix in 2024. Many recollections are evoked by this incident. Walker notes that the reboot is devoid of the original essence, giving him the impression that Hollywood is attempting to recycle rather than uphold the original principles. Walker saw the original as a creation of a unique time period that reflected the social tensions of the day as well as comedy. He acknowledges that he has always seen the reboot as a totally distinct product rather than a continuation. John Amos died that same year, leaving Walker with a huge hole in his memory. During filming, they were bitter rivals, yet Walker openly showed his appreciation for them. The loss of such a pillar made it impossible for him to suppress his grief, and he admitted that the program will never be the same after Amos left the ensemble. This illustrates how Walker genuinely recognized the significance of his former colleague and their shared legacy despite their intense disagreements. Walker, who is 78 years old, is still performing stand-up comedy on tour and working on new movies. He will be in Oklahoma in 2025 to film Forgotten Fortune, and he has disclosed that he is working on a second book. These pursuits demonstrate that he is growing older rather than slowing down or abandoning his hectic lifestyle. Walker's increased concern for community health is seen in his appearances on local television to promote awareness of skin cancer. This is a far cry from the days when he was just known for his laughing. The fact that Walker once felt alone on stage is something he does not hide while discussing his personal legacy. Laughing, he claims, kept him alive, but it also cost him connections and friendships. Walker has recently called such periods his bad times. Additionally, he acknowledged that he would not have developed into the resilient artist he is now without that experience. Since it is no longer concealed by the glitz and glamour, his revelation is meaningful because of its honesty. The way that people view JJ is another example of Walker's legacy. With a catchphrase that has been ingrained in popular culture, this figure is regarded as a television icon of the 1970s. For Walker, this is a burden as well as a source of pride. Although he has acknowledged the power that comes with that image, he has frequently acknowledged that he finds it difficult to avoid it. The story of Walker, a successful artist who is always evaluating his own value, is distinctive because of this internal conflict. Many people believe that Walker's legacy is complicated. In addition to becoming a sitcom star, he served as a witness to the costs of celebrity. All of this combined to paint a complex image, from disputes with co-workers to a profession that stalled after great success to contentious personal decisions. Walker made the decision to speak the truth rather than back down. His confessions became the last link between a turbulent past and a calmer present as a result. In retrospect, Walker characterizes happy moments as both positive and negative. It's a concise synopsis that captures everything he has experienced. He was raised to great heights by laughter. Deep troughs were thrust upon him by tension. And he was able to get back up and carry on with his adventure because of persistence. This admission completes a long circle, giving the public the impression of an artist who is not afraid to confront the truth, despite the paradoxes that never completely go away. And Jimmie Walker has admitted to it regarding the turbulent years that went on behind the scenes of Happy Times. He had both laughter and unfillable emptiness after this excursion, which was both magnificent and heavy. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed this tale and would like to watch more of our upcoming videos. This will ensure that you don't miss any new stuff. Please share your ideas in the comments section below, because the story will become more lively and relatable with everyone's input. Until the next video, see you.